Hello friends, this is me, your host. Welcome back to our channel. I hope you all are well and doing great. So today I am back with another video to give review on books which are all about computing and internet. And today these are the days AI ChatGPT are very common in use. So we have to be know how we can use it, how we can process it, and the supremacy. So we will see three books in this video. So the first one which we're going to see today is the Supremacy, AI ChatGPT and the Race That Will Change the World by Parmy Olson. Introduction. Setting the stage. Artificial intelligence has been a subject of both fascination and fear of decades, but never before has the conversation about its transformative potential felt so urgent, so personal, and so globally impactful as it does in the 2020s. Is the does in the 2020s. Palmy Olson Supremacy AI, ChatGPT, and the race that will change the world arrives at precisely the right moment. Published in 2024, the book quickly won acclaim, including the Financial Times and Schroders Business Book of the Year award. Cementing Olson's positions as one of the most authoritative voices chronicling the current AI revolution. At its core, Supremacy tells the story of two men and the organizations they shaped. Sam Altman of OpenAI and Demis Hassabis of DeepMind, whose rivalry has come to symbolize not just a technological competition but also a clash of visions about the future of humanity. Also weaves a person's journeys, corporate strategies, and philosophical commitments into a fast-paced narrative that reads like a thriller, yet remains grounded in meticulous reporting. The title itself, Supremacy, is deliberate, evoking both the raw power of AI to dominate and reshape the world, and the race for institutional dominance between two research labs backed by tech giants Microsoft and Google. Olson frames the rise of generative AI not simply as a technological breakthrough but as a human drama about ambition, ethics, money, and the fragile line between innovation and catastrophe. Narrative style and approach. One of Olson's greatest strengths lies in her storytelling craft. Although she is a journalist with years of experience covering Silicon Valley for Bloomberg and the Wall Street Journal. Olson writes with the narrative verve of a novelist. She introduces Sam Altman and Demis Hassabis is not just as entrepreneurs or scientists, but as characters with distinct drives, insecurities, and worldviews. Come across as the cerebral chess prodigy, consume the intellectual mastery and the dream of scientific immortality, often described as fantasizing about multiple Nobel Prizes. Olson balances accessibility and technical rigor. For readers new to AI, she provides crisp explanations of concepts like large language models, reinforcement learning, and transformers without overwhelming them in jargon. For experts, the richness comes from her detailed sourcing, behind the scenes accounts, and contextual framing of how boardroom politics, corporate investments, and philosophical ideals intersect with technical development. The pacing of the book mirrors the rapid acceleration of AI itself, beginning with hopeful ideals, moving into dense rivalries, and culminating in a high stakes battle with global corporations and governments scramble to assert control over technologies that even their creators do not fully understand. The central rivalry, OpenAI versus DeepMind, origins and philosophical differences. Olson frames the heart of her book around the duel between OpenAI and DeepMind. Both organizations began with lofty ideals. DeepMind, founded in 2010 by Demis Egg and Mustafa, carried the mission of solving intelligence for the betterment of humanity. It was acquired by Google in 2014, partly due to fears that such advanced research could be dangerous if left in the wrong hands. OpenAI, co-founded in 2015 by Sam Altman, Elon Musk, and others, declared itself an open-source, non-profit initiative designed to democratize AI and prevent monopolization, but also shows how these idealistic visions soon collided with reality. DeepMind became increasingly absorbed in Google's corporate machinery, constrained by shareholder expectations. OpenAI facing astronomical computing costs to train ever larger models sought billions in funding, ultimately making Microsoft its patron and transforming itself into a GAAP profit company. Both organizations compromised their founding missions in pursuit of survival and scale. The turning point, ChatGPT. also devoted significant attention to the launch of ChatGPT in late 2022, a pivotal moment when OpenAI leaped ahead of DeepMind in public perception. ChatGPT became a global phenomenon overnight. ChatGPT reaching millions of users and forcing competitors into a reactive posture. Google, embarrassed at being caught flat-footed, rushed its own chatbot Brad into production. Savis lamented that DeepMind's more cautious strategy left sidelined in the public race, even though its models were in many ways as capable. Themes explored in the book: the Faustian bargain of capitalism. One of Olson's recurring motifs is the tension between altruistic ideals and capitalist realities. Both OpenAI and DeepMind began with visions of protecting humanity, but they quickly became entangled with corporate overlords, Microsoft and Google, whose interests inevitably prioritize profit and dominance. Olson describes this as a Faustian bargain in exchange for survival and scale. The labs surrendered their independence, risking the very values they sought to defend. Ethics and effective altruism. Olson interrogates the influence of effective altruism, a philosophical movement that shaped many AI leaders, including those at OpenAI. While EA emphasizes maximizing long-term good, Olson points out the paradox. Lofty commitments to humanity often obscure the immediate risk of bias, misinformation, and systematic inequality. The rhetoric of safeguarding humans sometimes functioned as moral cover for aggressive expansion. Bias, inequality, and social impact. The book highlights how AI systems trained on massive internet datasets reproduce and amplify biases around race, gender, and class. Olson situates this within a broader critique. If AI is developed under the control of a few corporations, it risks hard coding existing power imbalances into the very infrastructure of the digital future. Regulation and geopolitics. Olson also addresses the geopolitical stakes. The US and China are locked in a race for AI dominance, each pouring billions into research and military applications. Meanwhile, regulators struggle to keep pace, torn between encouraging innovation and preventing harm. Also warns that without robust oversight, the concentration of AI power in a handful of companies could destabilize economies and democracies. Critical assessment strengths narrative power also transforms abstract debates into gripping human drama. Accessibility. She explains complex concepts clearly, broadening the audience for AI discussions. Ethical urgency. By centering on corporate compromises, Olson forces readers to confront the social risk of concentrated power. Balanced tone. Neither alarmist nor overly optimistic, Olson strikes a careful balance between fascination and critique. Broader reflections. Reading Supremacy is not just reading about AI, it is reading about human ambition and frailty. Olson shows how the very traits that drive innovation, ambition, ego, risk taking, are also those that imperil collective safety. The book ultimately asks whether humanity can entrust its future to a handful of corporations and individuals whose incentives may not align with public good. The urgency of the title is justified. The race for AI supremacy is not a distant science fiction scenario, but a present reality shaping markets, politics, and even cultural imagination. Olson leaves readers with both admiration for the brilliance of innovators and unease about the systems of power in which they operate. Conclusion. Parmy Olson Supremacy, AI, ChatGPT, and the race that will change the world is a masterful blend of journalism, biography, and cautionary tale. It captures a pivotal moment in technological history, offering both a compelling narrative and a offering both a compelling narrative and a sobering warning. For policymakers, it underscores the need for urgent regulation. For general readers, it provides a gripping story that demystifies AI while raising profound questions about its future. In the end, Olson's books is not just about AI supremacy. It is about what kind of supremacy humanity itself. It is profit and power. The next book which we're going to see today in this video is How to Win the Premier League, the inside story of football's data revolution by Ian Graham. Introduction. The hidden science of the beautiful game. Football for over a century has been defined by moments of brilliance, a clinical finish, a goalkeeper's heroic save, or the roar of 50,000 fans celebrating a last-minute winner. The narrative of this sport has revolved personalities, instincts, and emotions. Yet in the last 2 decades, football has quietly undergone a transformation that is every bit as revolutionary as tactical innovations like total football or pressing, the revolution is data. Ian Graham's How to Win the Premier League offers one of the most insider perspective on this transformation. Graham, who served as Liverpool's FC Director of Research from 2012 to 23, is not a journalist or historian, but a scientist, a physicist who applied analytical models to decode football's complexity. His book is not just a memoir of his career, but a manifesto for a new way of understanding the sport. What makes the work significant in its timing? It arrives at a moment when analytics has moved from the fringes of football in the mainstream. Clubs that once dismissed data as irrelevant now compete to hire analysts. Fans argue about expected goals alongside possession statistics. And behind every major signing or tactical evolution, there is likely a data story. In this sense, Graham's book is both historical and futuristic. It explains how Liverpool used analytics to secure their most successful era in decades, while also offering a glimpse of how football will continue to evolve. Chapter by chapter breakdown and analysis. Physicist enters Physicist enters football. The opening chapter introduces Graham's background. With a PhD in physics, he was trained to identify patterns hidden within complex, seemingly random systems. Football he Football, he notes, is exactly that, a low-scoring chaotic sport where luck often disguises true performance. Graham recounts his transition from academia to football and describes the initial skepticism he faced. Coaches and scouts trusted their instincts and experience. Analysts they believed could never capture the essence of a game played on grass, not spreadsheets. Yet Graham shows that far from replacing human judgment, analytics sharpens it. This chapter frames the central tension of the book. Can the romance of football coexist with the rationality of data? The building blocks of football analytics. Here Graham explains the foundations of football data analysis. Unlike baseball, where discrete events are easily measured, football is fluid and continuous. A single goal may result from dozens of interwoven actions. To address this, Graham and his team developed models that devalue every contribution passes. A single goal may result from dozens of interwoven actions. To address this, Graham and his team developed models that value every contribution. Passes, tackles, movements of the ball according to how much they increase or decrease a team's chance of scoring. This leads to the now famous concept of expected goals. and its variations. Graham makes clear that analytics is not about predicting exact outcomes, but about probabilities. This shift from certainty to likelihood challenges the way fans and pundits interpret games. Transfers and the Mohamed Salah case. Perhaps the most section of the book centers on Liverpool's recruitment of Mohamed Salah. Many question the move because of Salah's underwhelming earlier spell at Chelsea. Yet Graham's data revealed that Salah's positioning, shot quality, and chance creation were elite. Even his goal record did not yet show it. The signing, as history proved, became one of the greatest success stories of modern football, with Salah breaking scoring records and transforming Liverpool's attack. This chapter illustrates the money ball principle applied to football, buying undervalued players based on hidden metrics rather than surface level reputation. Klopp and the perfect fit. Graham turns his attention to Jürgen Klopp's appointment in 2015. While Klopp was already admired for his high-energy style at Borussia Dortmund, analytics showed that his pressing stamp created measurable advantages in recovering possession and generating chances. By combining Klopp's philosophy with data-driven recruitment, Liverpool created a squad uniquely suited to his system. This chapter highlights the marriage of managerial vision and statistical evidence, proving that data is most powerful when aligned with leadership. Chapter 5, Discovering Undervalued Talent. Beyond Salah, Graham details other signings. Andy Robertson from Hull, Sadio Mane from Southampton, and Roberto Firmino from Hoffenheim, who blossomed into world-class players under Klopp. Data revealed the hidden strengths which traditional scouting overlooked. This underscores analytics' role in leveling the playfield. Liverpool could not outspend Manchester City or Chelsea, but they could think them. Chapter 6, Data in Tactics and Preparation. Analytics was not confined to transfers. Liverpool used data in set prices, optimizing defensive and attacking routines, players' fitness, monitoring workloads to prevent injuries, opponent analysis, identifying weaknesses in rival teams. This chapter gives example of how analytics influenced subtle tactical tweaks that often made the difference in tight games. Chapter 7: The COVID-19 Era. This chapter examines how analytics helped clubs adapt during the pandemic when games were played without fans. Data showed that home field advantage largely disappeared without crowd pressure on referees and opponents. Beyond tactics, this section highlights the psychological dimension of football and how analytics can measure even intangible factors like atmosphere. Chapter 8: Data Limits. Importantly, Graham acknowledges that analytics is not omnipotent. Football remains unpredictable. Injuries, referee decisions, and sheer luck can override probabilities. Moreover, players are not numbers. They are humans influenced by confidence, motivation, and relationships. This humility prevents the book from becoming dogmatic. Graham respects the balance between numbers and the human spirit of the game. Chapter 9: Football's Future. In the closing chapter, Graham explores where football analytics might go next. Real-time data influencing in-game decisions. Broader use of tracking technology. Smaller clubs using analytics to punch above their weight. He also raises ethical questions. How much surveillance of players is too much? Will fans lose connection to the game if it becomes over-scientific? Themes and deeper analysis. The clash of instinct and evidence. The book repeatedly highlights the tension between traditionalists. Graham shows that the best results come not from choosing one side but from integrating both. Marginal gains and competitive advantage. In a sport with vast financial inequality, analytics becomes a weapon of the underdog. Liverpool's rise shows how a data-informed approach can compensate for smaller transfer budgets. The human side of data. Despite his scientific background, Graham writes with warmth and humor. He never loses sight of the fact that football is played by humans for the joy of millions. Data is a tool, not the essence of the game. The democratization of knowledge. By publishing this book, Graham effectively shares secrets that once gave Liverpool a unique edge. The implication is that analytics will become standard across all clubs, raising the baseline of decision making in football. Conclusion. The numbers behind the glory. How to win the Premier League is not just about football. It is about how we make decisions in complex, uncertain environments. It is about how evidence unchallenged tradition, how innovation emerges from skepticism. Liverpool's story is inspiring, but its lessons extended far beyond and feel any club, business, or individual can learn from Graham's approach. Embrace uncertainty, measure what matters, and be bold enough to act on the numbers. In the end, the book proves that the beautiful game is not diminished by data, it is enriched by it. Goals still thrill, fans still dream, and football remains unpredictable, but behind even trophy, if every victory and every legend, these are patterns waiting to be discovered. Anne Graham's books uncovers those patterns, offering readers a rare gift. The chances to see the game not just with the heart, but also with the mind. The last book which we're going to see today, The Coming Wave, Technology, Power and the 21st Century Greatest Dilemma. Introduction. In The Coming Wave, Technology, Power and the 21st Century's Greatest Dilemma, Mustafa Suleyman, co-founder of DeepMind and current CEO of Inflection AI, delivers one of the most urgent manifestos of our time, co-authored with writer and researcher Michael Bhaskar. The book explores the unprecedented convergence of artificial intelligence, and synthetic biology, which Suleiman identifies as the defining technological wave of this century. While past human revolutions, the agricultural, industrial, and digital, reshaped societies at a transformative pace, Suleiman argues that AI and SB differ in scale, accessibility, and potential risk. Unlike nuclear technology, which required vast resources and state control, AI algorithms and gene editing tools can now be developed by small groups or even individuals. This democratization of power is at once inspiring and terrifying. The central thesis of the coming wave is both simple and profound. Humanity faces a new technological revolution that cannot be stopped but must be contained. Like a tidal wave, it will sweep across industries, politics, economics, and culture. If harnessed wisely, it may deliver cures for diseases, breakthroughs in climate science, and abundance on a scale once unimaginable. If left unchecked, it could empower mass surveillance, engineered pandemics, and autonomous weaponry capable of destabilizing civilization. This review offers a full exploration of Suleiman's ideas, summarizing his arguments, analyzing his proposed containment strategy, comparing them to historical precedents, and evaluating the implications for our collective future. Author background and perspective. Mustafa Suleyman is not an outsider speculating from the margins of technological discourse. As co-founder of DeepMind, one of the world's leading AI labs, by Google in 2014, he has been at the forefront of cutting-edge machine learning research. DeepMind's AlphaGo project, which defeated the world champion in the Asian game of Go, remains a landmark achievement in artificial intelligence. Later, Suleiman founded Infection AI, dedicated to building conversational AI assistants, demonstrating his dual identity as both innovator and ethicist. Later, Suleiman founded Infection AI, dedicated to building conversational AI assistants, demonstrating his dual identity as both innovator and ethicist. This dual perspective, builder and critic, gives his voice unusual weight. Unlike academic, theorists, or politicians, Suleiman speaks from within the heart of Silicon Valley's innovation ecosystem. His co-author Michael Bhaskar has written extensively on technology, publishing, and information. Together, they create a narrative that balances insider expertise with accessible storytelling, making highly technical subjects legible to the general reader. Structure of the book. The book is organized into three broad movements: the wave and its origins, how AI and synthetic biology differs from earlier revolutions, and why their combination produces exponential consequences. Opportunities and risks. An exploration of the miraculous possibilities of the wave. Alongside the dark futures it could unleash, containment, a call for proactive regulation, governance, and ethical frameworks to manage the wave before it spins out of control. Each chapter interweaves history, anecdote, and policy argument, giving readers both intellectual and emotional engagement. Key themes: the unstoppable technological wave. Suleiman insists that technological progress is an unstoppable force. Once tools are discovered, they diffuse through societies regardless of borders or restrictions. Just as the printing press and internet proved impossible to contain, so too will AI and SP proliferate. What makes this wave unique is not just its speed, but its decentralization. With open source AI models and CRISPRs kits available at relatively low cost, individuals outside of governments and corporations can wield immense power. This makes a break from the past where only superpowers could control nuclear arsenals or space exploration. The promises of the wave. Suleiman is not a pessimist. He repeatedly highlights the enormous upside of these technologies. AI tutors capable of educating millions. AI systems that accelerate drug discovery and climate modeling. Synthetic biology that can eradicate genetic diseases, produce renewable biofuels. Global productivity gains that could free humanity from scarcity. The wave, in its optimistic framing, is a dawn of human empowerment. The perils of the wave, but the very qualities that make the wave empowering also make it destabilizing. Suleiman catalogues a chilling list of risks. Bio Bioterrorist engineering synthetic viruses. Authoritarian states using AI for total surveillance and propaganda. Autonomous weapon system waging wars without human oversight. The possibility of runaway AI models escaping control and pursuing human goals. Containment, a middle path. The heart of Suleiman's solution is containment. Unlike the luddite impulse to resist technology or the libertarian impulse to allow total freedom, containment advocates for careful governance. His 10 steps to containment include building kill switches into AI systems, regulating supply chains for sensitive biological materials, establishing international treaties for oversight, auditing AI models for biosecurity and safety, creating choke points where harmful technologies can be intercepted. Containment, she argues, is imperfect but necessary. Chapter by chapter summary. Chapter 1: The Coming Wave introduces the metaphor of the coming wave introduces the metaphor of the wave, argues that AI and SP differ from past revolutions because they give individuals state-level power. The history of containment explores precedents, nuclear containment through TTs, chemical weapons bans, and lessons from the Internet era, suggests that while containment is hard, it is possible. Conclusion. Reading The Coming Wave is both exhilarating and terrifying. It is a book that forces reader to confront uncomfortable truths that we are unleashing forces we barely understand, and that the next decade may determine whether humanity thrives or collapses. Suleiman is at his best when he blends insider knowledge with ethical urgency. His vision of containment may feel aspirational, but it also a necessary framework to start global conversation. While some may critique the lack of technical depth or the alarmist tone, the book succeeds where it matters most. It galvanizes awareness. Ultimately, the coming wave is not a prophecy but a warning. We cannot stop the wave, but with foresight, collaboration, and courage, we might learn to ride it without being destroyed in the process. So this is all we have from these three books. I hope you guys like the book. Don't forget to press the like button. I'll be back with another videos with another books. Till then, just take care and goodbye.